Hello, fellow outsider. I've been informed that you're going to be joining us here at Furthermore Academy as a first-year student. If it were a part of any of my social interaction scenarios to say it was wonderful to see you, that is most likely what I would say. However, I tend to avoid these kinds of sentimental fluctuations, as I find the fleeting delusion of happiness to be a waste of time and energy, leaving me beyond bored. At any rate, my name is Wednesday Addams. I have been here at Furthermore for the past 13 years, and I'm almost finished with my doctoral studies in radiobiology with an emphasis on retro-FEV gene therapy. I've been asked to give you a tour around the academy. It's only a short walk from here, so let's just head over there now before we get disrupted by the inevitable, uncomfortable light of dawn. So here we are, at the gates of this esteemed learning facility. Furthermore was founded as a safe place to educate those of us who found it difficult to fit in anywhere else. There are several dorms around the campus, but as I don't have actual legal access to those, I will show you my room. Currently, I reside in Odelia Hall. Unfortunately, the same dorm that my dear mother lived in when she was a student here. But that was several decades ago, and many improvements have been made since then. Oh, and I feel I should mention at this point that I do have to share my space with a roommate, hence the garish decor on the opposite side. But more about that later. On my side, however, you can see I have my writing desk set up where I'm currently working on my 17th novel in my Adder della Plaga series. And next to that, I have my beloved gramophone, constructed for me by the only family member I have any respect for, my Uncle Blister. He may be a thief, a con artist, and a collector of cadavers, but he does appreciate the finer things in life and, quite literally, lights up any room he enters. And here are a few little trinkets I've collected recently for some of my experiments, though nothing of great interest there for the layman, of course. This unassuming little chair is where I practice the cello. Sadly, my cello is currently out for repairs due to the damp environment of our room being what it is, and though I find it deliciously dank, it does take its toll on such a delicate instrument, so every now and again I have to send it out for drying and reshaping to bring it back into tune. And over here is where I sleep, or at least attempt to. A nice cup of henbane tea before bedtime to help me relax, and of course having the comfort of a nearby explosive as I close my eyes both help me to gracefully fall into the ethereal embrace of Morpheus. On the other side of the room, this is where my co-inhabitant resides in a world entirely her own. Her name is Gladys, she's a werewolf, and regretfully, she is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. When we were initially forced into rooming together, our relationship was challenging, one could say. But we've managed to work out an unlikely alliance together, despite the kaleidoscopic state of her side of the room. Gladys and I are polar opposites. But I've begun to realize that this is perhaps why our relationship has grown the way it has. We will always be outsiders, and we will always be ourselves. And I think friendship with others who are different from ourselves does enrich our lives and make us better people overall. And I know we've only just met, but please be reassured that if you mention any of what I just said to anyone, I will end you. There's a lot more to see, of course, so I suppose we should continue on with the tour. Yeah, but first I think I should explain these two over here. Ghouls, as you can well imagine, are outsiders in not all, but most places here in the Commonwealth. and as such are welcome here at Furthermore. These two, though, have definitely gained the reputation as the party animals of the school. They have a tendency to pass out all over campus. At least they chose an indoor space this time. I have discovered there is almost nothing worse than stepping out for an evening of moon bathing and then putting your bare foot on one of these clowns in the dark. One would think that the cold squish of ghoul flesh oozing between one's toes would be a delightful sensation, but believe me, it is not. Over here we have the office of Principal Seams. She used to be a gunner with the gang that lives up on that section of broken freeway over there. She worked her way through the ranks, eventually becoming a brigadier general. After a while, though, she found that lifestyle much too dull and decided to take over as head of Furthermore for a real challenge. And this is it. Her private space for meeting with parents and/or students. Now, I would never say this to her out loud, but I must admit that I do secretly have a great appreciation for her aesthetic taste. Though this fireplace, it's supposed to resemble the Gorgon's Head fireplace at our old school, but I find this more akin to an astigmatic owl with a severe overbite. Her time with the Gunners made her a fanatic for discipline, a point of contention between us on occasion. I too have a penchant for discipline, but I prefer to define my own parameters in that regard, and this can come into conflict with her sense of authority from time to time. I've found, though, that if I throw her a bone once in a while, sometimes figuratively, sometimes literally,
Thanks.
that she's able to maintain her illusion of being in charge, leaving me free to live as I please. Overall, I think we've found a way to coexist in a mutually beneficial way. We pretty much just stay out of each other's lives, and really, what she doesn't know won't hurt her. At least, most of the time. Now over here, we have one of the more interesting places on campus. It's been a place of darkly romantic encounters, as well as blood rituals and even an attempted murder. Commonly known as Breakrock's Crypt, it was the final resting place of Jacob Breakrock, a pilgrim and all-around unpleasant man. There was some drama here a few years back, and it's been closed to the public ever since. But I don't think that will be much of a problem. There isn't a lock on the planet that can keep me out. And here we are. I just love the stale, fetid aroma of despair and decay. I'm also rather fond of the absolute ostentation of this place. Definitely my style. But what I like most about this place is the fact that its former inhabitant is no longer here. You see, Jacob Breakrock was not just an early settler here, but much more importantly, he was a narrow-minded bigot, bent on the destruction of anything he found different from himself. And he focused that self-righteous rage mainly on outsiders, mutants, and anyone that criticized his hat. He and a small band of his mentally myopic followers settled this area in 1625, violently displacing the indigenous people and savagely setting up his little regime. As more settlers began to make their homes in the surrounding area, he saw that not all of them thought as he did. Well, none of them did, actually, because he was a wackadoodle. Well, in 1647, this belt-topped man-baby and his minions brought their madness to a fevered pitch, culminating in the massacre of 103 families of outsiders, burning them alive. The lone survivor of the massacre was my ancestor, Wednesday Addams, who, deranged by grief, killed Breakrock and sealed his body in here with a blood curse. His followers, freed from their manipulative leader, began to realize that what they had done was really bad, and began a heartfelt movement of reconciliation with their neighbors.
I am truly sorry.
They eventually donated this part of their settlement to the outsider community, and furthermore was built as a safe haven for those who had been so cruelly mistreated in the past.
This all has to be handed over to cooler heads.
And so it was for centuries, until just a few years back, one of Breakrock's fanatic descendants decided to take destiny into their own hands and attempted to finish what he had started. It was quite a messy situation, to say the least. Suffice to say, Breakrock won't be bothering us again, but one must always stay vigilant that others with such a lack of empathy and humanity are never allowed into such a position of power ever again.
Never again.
Well, I think that's more than enough about that. Why don't we get out of here, and I will take you someplace a bit less weighted down by history. Okay, now I'll just lock this back up and... oh, what's that? Listen to them. The children of the night. What music they attempt to make. Anyway, there's the window of compromise. You may have noticed it when we were in my room. Gladys was a bit nonplussed by the monochromatic addition I installed on my half of the window when I moved in, but after a bit of raw meat to calm her down, she really began to understand the meaning behind the symbolic juxtaposition of color.
It's beautiful.
We're coming up on Furthermore Hall now. It's used for many types of school gatherings, but tonight it's been set up for the annual Grave-In Dance. The Grave-In is a long-held Furthermore tradition of what is professed to be a happy time of fraternization for the students, a chance to let loose, so to speak. I have attended several of these over the years, though neither fraternizing nor letting loose hold any special kind of appeal for me in the least. Oh, and here's where all the unhealthy snacks and beverages will be set up. So much processed sugar at these things. I've never understood why, when a nice flambeau of jellyfish or a cup of bat broth would not only be better for you, but elevate the level of elegance at such an event. This year's theme for the dance is Unfrozen Vault Dweller. There have been some amazing tales going around about this vault dweller that has recently emerged from cryogenic storage. Over 200 years old, and they're going around kicking ass, really. Most impressive. So it makes for a great story and a rather interesting theme for a dance. Anyway, I probably never would have attended any of these dances had it not been for being tricked into coming my first year here by my companion, Thing.
Oh yeah.
Thing took it upon himself to, unbeknownst to me, invite a local boy on my behalf. I really should have declined. I really should have. Then, as it so happened, that night I danced one little dance. One, mind you. And the decision to do so changed the course of my life. Apparently, that little bit of choreography that I made up on the spot somehow positively struck the hearts of everyone there and implausibly became legend, thrusting me into a spotlight I'd much rather have avoided. I prefer the anonymity of lurking in quiet shadows, but thanks to my elevated sense of creativity, I inadvertently created a sensation. It took forever to live that down. This year, the dance has been organized by the school's queen bee, Ushanka Parfait. Ushanka and I have a long history, and though we have not seen eye to eye on many things, I do have a great deal of respect for her tenacity and ruthlessness. Notable attributes in many a great tyrant. but also serve her well in dealing with the various vendors around the Commonwealth to get this kind of party arranged.
Give me what I want, and I might spare you.
So, that's really the gist of Furthermore. And I'm sure you'll enjoy exploring the rest on your own over the next few days as you settle in. For me, though, I'm starting to feel that uncomfortable and persistent tingle on my skin that tells me that dawn is not far away. So, I'm going to seek shelter back in my room and get back to my writing time. I believe Principal Seams is waiting for you back in her office, so for now, I will bid you adieu. Oh, and for the record, I am a connoisseur of the weird in this world, and you, my dear, are insanely weird. Yeah, I think you're gonna fit in here just fine.